Mortal Online 2 is a full-loop PvP sandbox MMORPG, developed by Starvault and released in January of 2022. This is hands down one of the most niche MMOs I've ever covered on this channel, as it has one of the steepest and most punishing learning curves and early games of any MMO. I almost quit on my second day because I was just getting so frustrated and lost and I just didn't know what to do. But I pushed through, and I've got to say, this game is incredibly deep, rewarding, and is honestly one of a kind. So let's get into the good, the bad, and overall, is Mortal Online 2 worth playing in 2023? Before we get into this, I want to make a huge disclaimer. I know people drop off videos at different times, but I want the most amount of people to see this part as possible. So when you go to buy this game on Steam, it's listed at £31, which is around, I don't know, $40. But once you get into the game, a big pop-up happens. So you bought the game, you load it up for the first time, and a big pop-up comes up saying that subscription content is currently disabled. That means the developers are considering or have considered putting a subscription fee onto the game. There's no sub right now. It's you buy the game and it's free to play. But just be aware, they've got a good roadmap, lots of plans for the future and lots of content for the future. So if you put hundreds of hours into this game, just be prepared for them to add a sub fee at some point in the future. Just wanted to get that out there because I know a sub fee is a massive deal breaker for a lot of people. So first up, let's go into the new player experience, starting with the character creator. You can choose from a range of races: the tall, burly, orc-like creatures, the Thurzar, a small elf-type Alvarin, a furry little Orgmir, or a human. And the character creator is a lot deeper than it looks. Your race determines something called glad points, which are basically a talent tree. Some make you better at archery, others make you stronger and more defensive, some improve magical abilities, and then there are certain actions in there like healing or other passive abilities. And then you go on to pick your age, your height, your weight, and distribute your stat points and design your character. And it's good. The game has really good graphics, the character creator is great. And there's no classes in Mortal Online 2 either. You just put points into building out your character however you like. If you want to make someone with magic, a bow and arrow, a two-handed tanky swordman, a mounted archer, a healer, healing type character, literally make any type of character you want. And it makes a sandbox MMO like this so exciting that you can be whatever you want to be. But there's one major issue for new players that I really want to talk about. You don't have a clue. New players don't have a clue what they're doing. And you don't understand how much this initial choice can impact your build. Maybe you want to play as the big, huge ogre, but be a paladin. Well, your intelligence will be terrible as that race. Maybe you want to play as a nimble, small Alvarin and use bows. Well, you need strength to use the good bows in the game. So you're going to make the character that you want to play, and maybe you're going to get 30, 40 hours into the game and try and do something and realize that the character you make can never reach that potential because of a decision you made when you made your character. You'll quickly realize that everything in this game is incredibly punishing but rewarding. So let's move on. Once you made your character, you spawn into a place called Haven, which is basically a tutorial island. No PvP is allowed. There's a combat tutorial, a crafting tutorial. All the resources for crafting are pretty easy to obtain. It's a great place to try your skills on easy enemies, and you can get a couple of levels here before you move on to the real world. Once you go on to once you leave the tutorial and go to the real world, full loop PvP is on and the real game begins. It's about 10 times bigger than the tutorial, probably more. And you're quickly going to realize how hard this game is. Every single thing you do in the game is confusing, grindy, and punishing. I personally love it, but this is an insanely niche game, and I want to go over all the systems in the game that are unique, niche, and the good and the bad about them, because I think we're going to have people drop off this video more and more as we go through them, but the ones that stay might find the best game they've ever seen. First up, the skill system. One of the first things you do in this game is be introduced to the skill system. Take like 3 steps and your breathing will go up by 1 point. You have about 1,000 action skills and 1,000 profession skills, and you can spend them any way you want. There's tons of skills that all build out your character in different ways, loads of different schools of magic, armor types, weapon types, and more and more and more and more. Like I say, breathing's one, reading's one. But learning them isn't easy. Every single thing you learn has to be taught or bought in a skill book or read, and then once you've learned it, you have to level it up manually. You are going to see people all over leveling stuff up. You'll see people walking around at like 1 mile an hour, because to level up your armor training, you have to put armor over above what you can wear, and you'll be over encumbered, and then trudge around like you're in Skyrim and you've overloaded yourself until you level up your armor training and can wear that heavy armor and your armor capacity goes up. You'll see people just outside in the forests trying to tame like boars to level their taming so they can go tame really cool animals. This is one of probably the biggest turn-offs for a lot of people because it is insanely grindy and time consuming. You go and travel all across the map, get a book that's really good and that builds out your character, and it might take 100 hours to read it to passively learn this skill. But once you know a build you want, say you want to be a paladin and you know what these abilities are and you want to work towards them, every day you can log in and know, okay, I've got 20 in this skill, I need to get it to 60, and then I can learn this next skill, and then I can progress this. And it's incredible. It's what makes an MMO progression for me. But it's going to put people off because it is so grindy. And when you see these people riding around on an elephant, you know they're a master tamer. When you see someone riding around on a horse, shooting things from miles away, you know they have mastered the riding skill and mastered archery, and they can pull those shots off at range, at speed. And it's amazing. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about combat and PvE as well. The combat is based on directional aiming. Think Mount and Blade, Glory of Victus, or Kingdom Come Deliverance. The combat is realistic, slow, and impactful. See attack coming from the left, put your sword or shield to the left, position your weapon there to block it, and then parry it back. Animals will jump at you, bandits will feint and parry your attacks, bows must be aimed manually and they sway with your breathing, aim higher for gravity, and better bows will shoot further and longer. And everything is skill-based. In not talking about the skills that level up, I'm talking about the player's skill. You'll see players just dueling in the town to get better at learning other players' attacks and being able to do that. You'll see people shooting things from miles away in the open world to level up their archery and just be better at archery. And it's so much different than what you might see from, say, World of Warcraft, where although it's technically hard to send an attack, you tab and press 1, or you target and press 1. It's very different having to pull that off yourself in a game. I like it. And then there's magic. Magic is its own world, and I don't want to get too into it. Magic is incredible, but if you've watched like Lord of the Rings, Gandalf isn't throwing fireballs the whole way through the film. And as a mage, you won't be either. You got to buy a spell book. You got to find spells from all around the world, from traders. They drop from bosses. Strong mages hold them. And then you've got to scribe those spells into your spell book to know how to call upon them when you need them. And to top it all off, to cast them, you need certain regents, and the harder the spell, the rarer the regent. So as a mage, you'll probably be pulling out a sword or a dagger, and then using weak spells until you need to pull out this game-changing spell that just turns the tide of battle and bring down lightning and fire. And it's so cool, because you won't see it all the time. You won't see somebody just killing zombies with awesome firepower, but you'll see it when it's needed. There's so many cool enemies to fight too. There's zombies, bandits, wizards, animals, lizards, rat people, spiders, dungeon bosses. Most of the PvP content happens on the open world and down in those dungeons as well, that you're always going to be fighting. Next up, let's talk about the community, because it's really important. This is not a huge MMO. This is a very niche MMO, and there aren't a huge number of players.
Well.
Look what we have here.
Oh, I'd put that away if I were you. You're vastly out.
There's always people everywhere. There's always players around in the game, because it's all played on that one server mostly. And you're going to recognize people in towns. You're going to make friends. You're going to join guilds, make rivals. There's full in-game voice chat as well. So you can be sat in a city and you'll hear people chatting. You'll chat to people. You'll overhear conversations about bosses, locations, guild drama. Every interaction feels super real because you'll keep seeing the same people. You can be sat in the bank and hear, I just came up from this road and was attacked by 2 archers, just avoid it. And next time you go out, you'll avoid that road. You'll be sat there and hear about a certain mob that drops a certain thing, and then maybe you'll go and learn that yourself and do that yourself. And it makes the interaction so much more real. In a normal, say, the current day MMO, you ride past a certain thing and you'll just see a player, maybe a wave. In this game, you might stop and go, hey, how you doing? And just have a conversation, because the community feels alive, and it's almost like you're playing on a roleplay server at all times, because everyone is so immersed. Next up, talking about immersive community, we need to talk about the PvP. If there's anything that's going to put you off this game, it's this. This is a full loot PvP game, and that means when you're killed by another player, you drop everything, all your equipment and your entire inventory, excluding a couple of accessories. You lose everything. There's a crime system, which means that players that attack another innocent player become flagged as hostile, and doing this often flags them as a murderer. On the flip side, players can join guilds, and they'll rally against players to hunt these guys down. You become a bounty hunter and let off a bird to track your bounty, and you can track down these violent PvPers. But it happens. PvP happens. This is a PvP game, and you cannot get away from PvP. You can't turn it off. You leave the town, you are at risk of being killed and losing your entire inventory. I think the only thing we haven't talked about so far is crafting, and I'm hesitant to talk about crafting too much because it's too confusing. It's too confusing for a should you play review video. It needs its own 30-40 minute video because the crafting skills are ridiculously complex. It's so confusing that it's not worth getting into depth with. If you think of a normal MMO and you want to be a blacksmith, you go to your trainer and they teach you a bronze dagger, a bronze sword, a bronze pike. You get your skill up to 20 and they teach you an iron dagger, an iron sword. And it's simple, right? Here, there's none of that. You want to learn a craft? Good luck. You got to go find a skill book, go to a library and learn a book on making one-handed swords. Maybe after you've made 50, get your level up to 50, you can learn how to make two-handed swords. Maybe there'll be a book in a library that teaches you two-handed swords. And then once you've learned that, you progress. What do you put on those swords? Who knows? There's literally slots and you decide what to put on there. Let's say you kill a pig and you get some leather and you butcher and get leather. Maybe you wrap the handle of the sword in leather and then maybe you learn how to process some iron and put that on the sword. Is it going to be a good sword? Who knows? Is it going to have 10 attack, 20 attack? Who knows? The game doesn't teach you. Learn from other players or learn by doing. And if you can make the best items in the game, you are the guy who can make the really good swords. You're the guy who can make the bow that can shoot 100 meters. You can sell those items on the market board. And it's phenomenal, but it's going to turn a lot of people away because you can't just Google how to get the best sword in the game. You've got to learn. You've got to learn a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's min-max builds and guides out there, but a lot of this is trial and error and learning. I think that's everything. I think we've covered everything. So let's talk about overall, should you play Mortal Online 2 in 2023? That's the video, right? It's hard. It's hard not to make this a 1 hour video. It's hard not to talk about everything for 30 minutes. It's hard not to talk about every single bit of PvE, every PvP interaction I've had, every reason I want to play and don't want to play, because it's so complex. I downloaded this to make it a review and to just because I like playing MMOs and this looked good, but I've fallen in love with it. I'm obsessed. I adore this game and it's hard not to be biased, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you to buy it. This is one of the hardest and most brutal MMOs I've ever played. It punishes new players. It makes you learn by dying, by failing, and by messing up. But it's so rewarding. And the reward for mastering something is better than I've felt in any MMO. If you can master archery, if you can master riding a horse, if you can ride at full speed, turn and pull your bow and take someone out with a headshot, it's so rewarding that it's unmatched. If you can make the best gear in the game, you can make the perfect gear that's super durable, super strong and lightweight with a bow to match, an armor for your horse and potions, and you can make like the perfect gear and the best stuff in the game and you've mastered it, you just feel incredible because it's so hard to do and so many people don't know how to do it. And then when you put that all together and you have the feeling of you and the boys, you and your friends or people you've met in the game, and you're riding out on your horses with your sick gear that you've made yourselves, and you just feel like you've beat the game and you push yourself to a really hard challenge, but knowing you could lose it all if you die, makes this the most immersive MMO I've ever played. This is the most challenging niche MMO I've covered on this channel, and I'm certain most people watching this will be put off at something. Maybe it's the full loop PvP, maybe it's the countless hours of grinding to get your skills up, or the huge learning curve that you have to do. But it's not for everyone, and probably not for most people. But if you're tired of the traditional MMO experience, the handheld experience, and want a hardcore, realistic, immersive MMO with an incredibly close community where decisions and choices matter, Mortal Online 2 is the best on the market right now. This is an incredibly niche MMO, and it caters to a very small part of the MMO community. If you are part of that community, I think you have to try this game because it is phenomenal. If you don't like that niche, if you don't like hardcore, grindy MMOs with full loop PvP, I would say don't play it. But that's it. That's the review. That's it. If you like the video, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Are you playing? If so, let me know. I need friends. I need help. Help me. But that's it. That's the video. Take care. Subscribe for more. I make MMO content, reviews, guides, stuff like that. Yeah, subscribe for more. Watch more. Take care. Bye bye.